Hey there, everybody. I'm going to do a replay commentary here. So, to start off, I am going to go through the decks that were used in this game. And this game was played on Bloody Ridge 4v4. And I was playing on the Red Force side. On the Blue Force side, we had 4 decks. And I will start with a general US deck that was played by the Foxbat 349. Pretty standard logistics tab here, going with a lot of CVs, I guess. Delta Force and Frogs, Stingers and Humvees. These are max fit, I believe, here. No, these are not max fit on the Delta. When you go up to the Frogs, I think you lose a little bit of availability. Looks like he's choosing to have them as his fast deployment there. Rifleman 90 and a cheap Huey. Interesting. Never really seen that. Smalls in the Twin Huey and Rifleman 90 and the M2A2 Bradleys. Okay. Support tab. Paladins, Tackums, Shaps, trained Shaps. Personally, I like to take Shaps as hardened as I can get them because they just seem to miss, and it's nice to have them a little hardened. Although now that these carry 12, I guess these do as well. But back in ALB, they used to only have 4, so it was a bigger deal to take them hardened because if they missed, you're out of ammo. But now that there's 12, it's a little better. But even if they shoot all 4, they're still going to have to reload, and that takes 20 seconds, so yeah, not good. IHOC Pip 3, that's fine. Take those lower veterancy if you want more numbers. And Avengers, their accuracy is so good that I usually take them at train too. So tanks M1A2, M1IP, AGS, and the Era. It's fine. Recon, Sills, Longbow, Lav Scout, and KOC. Okay. The M901. It's really expensive for what it offers. If you want to take a TOW2 launcher, I think you're way better off going down to the Humvee version. Zbo. We've got DAPS, Super Cobra, Apache, and then we have Thunderbolt, Phantom, Hornet, and Eagle. And I'm not going to sit here and critique every choice on these decks. It would take forever. I'm just going to kind of go through them and point out a few bigger things that I notice and maybe some smaller things I just want to talk about. Okay. Yeah, interesting that there's no seed choice. Okay. We had General Incompetence playing a French motorized deck. Logistics, Vab, Fob, Heli. French logistics are really bad, but that's pretty much your options there. Infantry. The only thing I noticed looking through this is a couple of things like the Legions aren't maxed. You're going from 14 to 10. I think it's really worth it to get those at Elite, personally. Other than that, in the ATGM Milan F3, as bad as ATGMs are, I always like to take them at max vet, even though you're losing a decent amount of numbers. I think those should be at 5 veteran, personally, because you just want them to hit when they shoot, and you really need that veterancy. They'll also recover from a stun faster, you know, and it might make a difference. Nothing else to really say there. Sport, Grottle, Mistral, Fab, VDAA. On a motorized deck, I guess those are fine choices. I probably would go with a mortar instead of these. I just find these things really lackluster, personally. I think you'd be better off going with these mortars, probably. Tanks, good. Recon. Vehicles. Helicopters. Air. Okay. He has chosen to go with these to take the numbers at elite, which is a fine choice. It's okay. As opposed to going for, you know, your Rafales that are only come at one elite. So it's a little more card efficient to go this way. So it's a good air tap. Alright. Going on. We had Jordan Keeps playing with a airborne US deck. And I did notice on several of his choices he did not max the veterancy. And I just don't see how you could need this many numbers unless you're just playing a lot of total destruction or just total attrition warfare. Red Eye, God, I can't support that choice in any way. Those man pads are just totally useless. If you want extra numbers, just go to a Stinger A, like if you really want extra numbers, but 90% of the time you need to take the Stinger C. It's just too good. It's 70% accuracy. It basically never misses. And you get pretty decent numbers, especially on an airborne deck. You can take 7 hardened on a card. I mean, I think that's enough. Taking Light Rifleman as opposed to Light Rifleman 90, I don't really have a problem with that. You get a really good machine gun for a 15-point unit, which can be nice. Keep in mind we're talking about U.S. infantry, so everything, relatively speaking, goes down in quality a little bit. So it's not a bad choice. I did note that he was also taking another card of Light Rifleman, though. If you're going to use this much infantry, I think one of them should be a Light Rifleman 90 for sure. It's just a huge difference between a 1575 range, 35% accuracy, 10 AP dragon to go to a super dragon, which is further range, better accuracy, more AP. It's definitely worth it to have one card of those. You know, not great against tanks, but they do good work against a lot of other vehicles, and they can kill a tank here and there. Anything else to say here? Not really, no. Can't really say anything about transport options. It's kind of just flavor what you're looking to do there. Avengers, yeah, he maxed the veterancy on these. I mean, just take them a trained, you get 2 more. They're not gonna miss anyway. AGS Sheraton, it's only choices. Sills and Twin Huey, Rangers, Huey. You know, this is everything he's got is in helicopters, except for, you know, like one thing in Humvees here. Like, take a few things in the V-150. It's a really nice transport for the money. Maybe take a card of Delta, take some Rangers or Sills in them. You know, it doesn't all have to go through the air just because it's an airborne deck. Nothing really to say about any of that. On an airborne deck, it doesn't hurt sometimes to throw in maybe one of these V-150 90 mils. Gives you a little bit of kinetic, extra kinetic if you need it. But now that you have the AGS, man, that's really nice. This used to not be on the airborne deck. It's nice that they put it on there. Or maybe it didn't used to be on the motorized deck and they added it. I forget. Helis. Okay, I had something to say here. Like, okay, you've got one card of Vet Super Cobras and then you have another one of Hardened. I mean, when are you going to ever take 5? So I guess maybe in like huge 10v10s or something. I don't know. Or just weird setting games. But I'd rather these just both be Vet. And like, his OHs aren't max Vet. I don't know, like almost everything here is at the lower set. Maybe he just really likes to run around with helicopters, I don't know, but I'd max the veterancy on a lot of these. Air. Nothing really to say here. Looks good. I think those are good plane choices all around, pretty much. The Aardvark E. I think this should be a F-15D. Would be a much better choice there. Dropping the 12 iron with only 10 HE, and they're practically, well, they can do okay in cities sometimes, but you kind of have to get lucky, honestly. I'm not a big fan. I'd much rather have the cluster aardvark. That would give him like some cluster in here because he didn't have any cluster. But I'd probably change that to the F-15D. Otherwise, looks pretty good. I mean, he's already got intruders to fill this role also, so. Okay. I think that covers all of our blue 4 players. We did Fox, Jordan, Maverick, and General Incompetence. Okay, going over to the red 4 side, we had Gobo Fanatic on a Russian deck. Pretty standard logistical choices there. I did notice one thing. He took Spetsnaz in a BTR 70. Like, there's just no reason not to go to the BTR 80. It's the exact same veterancy or availability. So this should definitely be BTR 80s. And BTR 80s are way better than 70s. Double the accuracy and one more side armor. MP3, robots, Skrezits. The only thing I would say here is you can save quite a bit of money if you go with a BTRD over the Skrezit. Skrezits can be useful sometimes, you know, with that extra AoE gun on there. Yes, but it does raise the cost by 10 points, and that can add up over time. So maybe having both those on Skrezits not necessary. Could save a little bit of money by going to a D, but that's just his choice. I'm just kind of pointing out an alternative. Support tab, pretty standard. Certainly, you do get, if you go to a regular Nona over a Nona SVK, they're not as fast, but you get almost twice the availability and they're cheaper. They're not as accurate, but do you really care that much when it's already at 3185 on accuracy? Not really. I mean, and I've kind of like grown to really like the Vasilic. I've used it a lot in the past, and then I kind of got away from it, and then I've been using it again lately. It's really good. Yeah, looks fine. I do like, if I'm going to have bucks, I like having something cheap to screen for them, like Shilkas, just to catch seed shots if you're not paying attention when you need to be. I mean, ideally, if you were playing your air defense network perfectly, that would never be a problem, but, you know, human nature, sometimes it is, so it's nice to have Shilkas or something in there to catch seed shots so your bucks don't get seeded. Tanks. Couple of strange choices here. T72 base T72, when I was at 40 points, was really good value. Now that only 10 more points moves you up to the A, like where you get 2 more medium optics, better accuracy, a little more AP, I think the T72A is the way to go. Honestly, never really even seen anybody use these I don't know. Maybe he's got something special he does with them. They do have a 12 fire rate. It's kind of cool. And he takes the UN. Okay. VMF in the 29. That's Vecca. Yeah, okay. A lot of people have moved on to the GRU because the strength advantage they're taking as more important than the stealth advantage of the VMF. And the GRU, you know, that's a very nice rocket, anti-tank rocket. They can just handle themselves a lot better in a lot of situations. But VMF are still good. They're really stealthy, so they don't get spotted. BMPT, Silo, Bertino, Sturm, fine. Helis, Kula, 24V, 27 PU, 25, Yak 38, and MiG 27K. Okay. Then we had Orion on a East German deck. Double fobs. So he's looking to use some Marty. Pierce. He doesn't really have that much, so kind of interesting choice. FJB 40. Yeah, I've been seeing these quite a bit lately, and I just don't get it, honestly. They're pretty cheap, I guess. They give you kind of a versatile unit for cheap, so yeah. There's so many good infantry choices on the East German deck. Personally, I would rather roll LSTR 40 in the 80s. I mean, you're only going up 10 points and you get so much better of a unit than the FJB. And then I love this card. I use it personally a lot. Conquerors 2. I mean, the BMP 2 with the Conquerors, man, it's a really cost efficient card. Good infantry on it. This card, can't say I'm a big fan of the light infantry of East Germany, of the Metis units really in general. The Walk Regiment in the 80s is really nice. You get in a 15-man unit with an SMG and a RPK and a pretty nice rocket launcher. It's not high AP, but it's decently accurate and it has a fast rate of fire and high suppression. Yeah, I would much rather this card be Walk Regiment for sure. Alright, support. Tungusta, Cluster Arty, Ergen Cluster, Tor, Cub M. Yeah, that could work. I was actually kind of exploring using Cub M's in another deck earlier as my seed screen because they're only 45 points and it's a lot more dangerous versus a plane than like a Shilka is for only 10 more points. Shilkas are a little bit more mobile, but not really that much. So kind of an interesting choice. So I don't really have a problem with that. He has the BM24 that fires napalm. Honestly, I haven't really used these this much. The fact that only fired 12 rockets that are napalm and not HE is just never really appealed to me. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. I think having those big misses would be a lot more effective, personally. Mist is just such a great arty piece. Like, the fact that it has 2 top armor protects it from so much counter. It's really great. Alright. Tanks. Not a fan of these, but I can see how people probably could use them effectively. Those choices are fine. Recon. Looks good. That's a little overkill on Nurse Purity, but I guess if you played a lot of games where that was necessary, it might be alright. Be nice to see an ATGM plane in there. The ATGM plane that they have is not great, but it still kind of feels thrill anyway. And no seed. One of the most cost-effective seed fighters in the game too, so I'd like to see this card right here. Would be nice if it was this instead, I think. Otherwise it'd probably be okay. You can probably get away without having an HGM plane. I'm not so sure about this napalm plane. Only dropping 2 doesn't seem to be very effective. So honestly, if this was an ATGM plane or the cluster bomber, I think it'd be more effective. More effective deck, yeah. I didn't really commented on anybody's naval tabs. Might have been interesting to look at them all. And then we had Feru. Of all the decks I saw, this was the one I liked the most, personally. Well, it has a it's a very competitive deck, I'll put it that way. 2 fobs, little light on commands, Igla N, VDA, V90 and the Screzit. I have a feeling that they're going to rework the RPK 74 in the next patch, because right now the base RPK is much better than the 74 version, so hopefully they'll balance that out, and if they do, then the don't even get me trying to pronounce it, Morskaya Pechota 90, I don't know how to say it. I think they're going to be much better if they get this machine gun to be a little better, because their transport options are really amazing. Like, you can get them in BTR 90s, that would be really nice, or you can take them in the 80As. Either way, it's like a really good transport. You can even bring them in the KA-29, which is a really nice transport chopper, considering the fact that it has 80 of the 80 mil rockets. Very nice. Good machine gun, good health, decent speed. Yeah, it's a nice transport. So the transport options that the Soviet Marines have are great. So if only they had a better machine gun. Alright, so yeah, I don't really have a problem with that card. Sport tab. This is a arty spam tab for sure. We got 4 Mistas and 2 Smirches. I mean, why not go to 4 Smirches? I mean, why not, you know? I'm just kidding. So he chose to overload the Mistas instead of the Smirches, but 64 BM is still a great tank. It's a shame it doesn't have 2275 range, but it's still a decent cannon, and it's your cheapest armor that you can get on the Soviet deck for 95 points to get 16 frontal. Like for 90 you can get 15 frontal here, but to go up to 17 you have to like go way up. 120, 120, yeah, nothing's even really close. 125. So the B1 or the BM, you know, one of those. I don't have a problem with the 64 BM though. Sometimes that one extra little frontal there can make quite a bit of difference. You'd be surprised. So I think it's a good choice. He's got the 2 cards of Gru. Oh, one's VMF actually. Red Spec MI2. He really likes his recon infantry. I think it might be nice to have like a Plan Man here or something, like something to get exceptional. Could be useful, but mainly he's using a lot of artillery, so he wants to kind of sneak around with these guys. Baratino, BMPT, VP, Akula. Yeah, he's not doing anything with helis. Couple of PUs, 27K vet, issue 27M and make 25 BM. Okay, and then I guess we'll look at my deck that I played last. I made this right before the game. It's a mixed red mechanized deck. Logistics, I don't really have a lot of arty on this deck, so I thought I could get away with not having a fob, so I did not take a fob. MI6 and the 40-point trucks give me a lot of supplies, and I kind of skimped and just went cheap on the logistics with the little 100-pointers. The Bong Su, these are pretty good line infantry. I think they're the best line infantry on Red 4 because this Type 73 LMG is pretty good for line infantry. So they can actually do some damage in city blocks because of that LMG. Decent rocket, not great, but it's okay. And then this transport's kind of nice. It gives you a little bit of a flexibility with those. They're only 30% accurate. I hate that I can't go over here because I can't show you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the 9M31 man pad that's mounted on this transport. So it's got 4 air-to-air missiles on it, which is kind of nice. So that fills a lot of different roles for you, and it's actually got a pretty decent little cannon on it with that KPVT. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a upper respiratory infection right now, so I'm coughing a little bit. I took Conqueror's M, Max Vet, the MT-LVP, same card we were talking about earlier with East Germany, the Moto Sheets in 90 and the BMP-2C. This is kind of the bread and butter of the deck, in my opinion, is these, not the Moto Sheets in 90, but the Moto Sheets in the BMP-2. I put them in the BMP-2, but you could even go and just like the SPW-50 or the MZTM MT-LB if you wanted something a little cheaper to spam them even more, because for 15 points these things are amazing in cities because they have the RPK, which just does tons of work right now. Most trophy 90 in the BMP-3, ICLA, MTLVV, and Sapri in the Topaz 2AP, which also has a pretty nice gun on it for a transport, 1400 range with a little bump in accuracy and 2 frontal armor. So it's a nice little transport that can do some extra work for you. Sport tab, Tunguska M. I don't really see the purpose in vetting these up because their accuracy is already pretty insane, and sometimes you need the extra numbers if things go bad for you. PHZ 70, Good napalm launcher. Not as good as it used to be, but it's okay. Basilic mortars, buck, and the shot goes to screen for the bucks pretty much. It's their real only purpose. Tanks, ZTZ 85-2A, very cheap way to access 19 AP. 72 B1s, they're kind of there to screen for the 85As pretty much. The 72B OBR 87, and the reason this is pretty much in there is because it's really the only high-end tank you're able to get on the mechanized deck, so that's pretty much why it's there. This would also be a choice on this deck too, but I didn't choose to go with it. So 72A recon, we've got the exceptional 60-pointer. I like this guy, Snezka, I guess. This one is pretty cool. It's a way to get a cheap access to a very good optics vehicle that can sit stealthy with a KPVT. And then I have a little shock squad here of recon infantry. Vehicle tab, issue 122 and the PTZ 89, vetted up. Helis, MI-24 VP, air, we got the B5, 3 MiG-27s, a MiG-29 for air superiority, and the Su-22 Seed. Alright, so now that we've got through all that fun stuff, we're going to go into the replay. It's going to be a long video, guys. Hopefully my voice can take it. I have not. I just played this game probably a couple hours ago, so I haven't gone back and looked at it, but this will be my first time looking at it. So I went ahead and marked that I was going to go to the city in Echo, India. Peru, which was our deck with the Artie. Lots artillery. No, that was him. And then Gobo had kind of a general USSR deck. And then Orion had the West German deck. Or the East German, sorry. Alright, so I had the French motorized guy and the airborne guy pretty much going at me over here. And then they had the armored Eurocore deck going up middle and their general US deck going to the right. Alright, so he is gonna run a lab scout with an Avenger and some Stinger, I think those are Stinger C's, up fast, and then deploy some infantry and some helis along with those. Up middle, we've got a Leopard 2A5, a Leclerc, a Recon Leopard, 2A4. Did we ever even look at this deck? I think I forgot to look at this deck, didn't I? There was a armored Eurocore deck, and my biggest problem with it was he took a bunch of tanks, and some of them he didn't vet up all the way. And if you got that many tanks in your deck, I think you should take them all at elite, personally. Like his 2A4 is only hardened when it should be elite. I don't have a problem with like the 2A5 because it's a little lacking in armor availability. I'll go ahead and pause it while I go through the rest of these. And he's fast moving a Recon AMX with some VAV VDAAs. And pretty much everything's fast move. It's motorized, of course. So they definitely beat me to the city. And he's got some Celtics running up with Super Cobras and Blackhawks dropping off infantry with a Cassiopeia. I guess the motorized guy's bringing that along too. So yeah, they've got a very fast deployment going to the city. And their armored guys got quite a bit of AA here with a little bit of recon. It's a little lacking in recon, I guess. He's got a Alouette though. If he uses that correctly, it should cover the job. Alright, so our already spam deck deployed one. He deployed one of his fobs. Our East German guy deployed two of his. And Gabo deployed one, so not a big deal that I didn't have a fob. Got 4 out anyway. Iglas. Some recon. I think these are his crew. And it's Augusta and a UM. So working the early UM. Kind of interesting on this left side to do that. We'll see what he does with it. And we got a 72. I guess basically we had 2 guys going middle pretty much at the start. Yeah. Okay, so Gabo and Orion are going middle, and then one on each flanks. Oops. So let's run this at full speed here for a while. Watch our initial deployments roll out. Usually get first contact on this map on this area first. People are usually trying to rush as fast as they can. My deck was mechanized, so I had no fast move at all. The only fast I had was this one scout and a Ural. And you can see what I run into. I'm going to slow it down here a little bit. We'll go to my perspective at the first here just so we can see what kind of happened here. I get a definite picture that they are beating me to the objective early. I see 2 Celtics. I saw Blackhawks deploying. And I think I'm gonna get a view of this Kiowa and then see the Blackhawks coming up. So he drops off a bunch of riflemen. We'll come back over here and look in a minute. Let's just pause for a second. He is not really aggressively pushing up. It's pretty typical for this side to be pretty passive at the start because unless you're doing some type of 2-on-1 into this area here from this side, I'm not real sure about this side, but pushing up on these sides sometimes doesn't gain you a lot, and it really puts you way past any ability to reinforce. And you can get into an area like, let's say that you're fighting them in Gulf right here at the city from the red side. Well, their reinforcements right here, and they can really call in really quickly. They can get air support on you very fast when it takes you, you know, a long time to get anything back over here. So that's the reason you tend to see a lot of passive play over here, and you see a lot of just kind of sneaking over the mountains and stuff, generally. So most of the action's usually over here at the start, for sure. We've got the Kula K52 duo working here. Got an early Thunderbolt and an early Eagle up. The Fox Bat. Now this is interesting. This is what you can see a lot of the times too, is you see a pretty light deployment over here on this side, and you'll see heavy support from this player into the middle or the left. So you see Foxbat has actually called out a Thunderbolt and an F-15C to support this left side early, even though he's deploying over here. We're going to run up a little bit at half speed. And so the heli got his drop in. All these are 20 stacks. I think it would have been a good idea for him to maybe double one of those into a 40, because it's going to get a little crowded in here with this much infantry dropping in here. And I assume these are Legion in these fabs. I don't think Chasseurs come in those, but those could be Commando Marines, maybe. I don't remember. So let's go to my perspective just for a second so we can see what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing a bunch of troubles, what I'm seeing. And unfortunately, he is able to pick my Tunguska really early. Oh, those Super Cobras wrecked this guy over here. So basically, instead of running these guys up, I kind of figured he'd gotten... Let's pause for a second and look. I figured he'd gotten like all the way up, but he was a little slow to get some of these guys moving forward. So all I'm fighting right now is these AMX-10s, which have pretty low armor. So my BMP-2s are actually, and both of my tanks are up here too. So I'm able to counter that fairly easily. The main thing I'm worried about is infantry when I deploy. So instead of running my infantry all the way up into here, I went ahead and just got them out and started walking them up. But it's a really scary picture in front of me at the moment. So we've got an Eagle running cover. We got a Thunderbolt coming in on me. So I can pretty much kiss some of my tanks goodbye, probably for sure, right? Scared he's going to get my Tunguska, which I made a mistake with my Tunguska. As you can see, I have my missiles off and I have my gun on. So when I pulled it up, I got it backwards, guys, and it's going to hurt. But honestly, it didn't even matter, because he came in with that Thunderbolt and he immediately, which was a extremely good move by him, he immediately took out my Tunguska. He ignored the tanks and went right for the moneymaker, because that's what was protecting me from everything that's here to counter. Now, I'm not sure how aggressive he is with these Super Cobras, but if he'd got these Super Cobras in here on me, I really got nothing other than these man pads that are on these transports to counter those. But you're going to see how nasty moto shoots them are when they get into the city. And these guys, I just kind of kept them in reserve for now. So the elite moto shoots are coming into under fire here. Ooh, do they get shot by a tank? No, tank's shooting at the... You can see how bad these man pads are. They shot so many at that intruder and I got out. So let's look at the rest of the map real quick. So he's putting a Igla team up here. He got some Gru in here with some pejotas, some VMF. Pretty typical. That's about the way I usually deploy over here. Got some Iglas put in here. Interesting. Lots of heavy tanks right up front here. Let's kind of watch both sides here a little bit, because he's got 3 extremely powerful tanks right up here, basically against nothing that can counter them at all. The only thing we got is these. Wow, that's really interesting that he put this much stuff back up in the city. I've seen this from some players before, where they deploy a ton of stuff back here, and there's really no purpose to it. Like, you need to get up here. You need to fight for Foxtrot at the start. Don't deploy a bunch of stuff back here. These BMP-2Cs could cause a little trouble with their Conquerors, but otherwise, pretty much free reign here. So, especially when he took out the Akula and the K-52, unless there's like a seaplane, a HGM plane that comes in quickly to support, these tanks could be a huge trouble to them early. Although there is a Smirch out already. We'll see how quickly that Smirch lights in. So we'll watch this side for a little bit longer. Alright, here's the thing you want to watch in infantry combat. What are the states? What are the morale states of all these units? So these Motoshitsun are all still calm. These riflemen are shaken and panicked, so they are basically practically worthless at this point. One of these guys is shaken, the other 2 are calm. And I was able to get these tanks shooting into these guys early too, which is quite helpful. I don't know if these, if he didn't see that the Tunguska got killed, or if he was scared of these transports with their missiles. But if he'd have kept his Super Cobra up, it could have caused me a lot of trouble right here. If he wouldn't ran back with that Super Cobra. I think a lot of people forget the fact that Super Cobras have TOW2s on them. They get so focused on the Sidewinders and their ability to shoot planes and helicopters down that they forget about the TOW2s. And man, I get a lot of work out of those TOW2s on those Super Cobras a lot of times. So you can see I'm getting shots in on these guys with tanks. So we got worried, panicked. These guys are worthless. Got one worried here, but still too calm. These guys must have took some tank shots or something from outside, because their morale's getting pretty low. Alright, so one thing I'm going to do here in a minute, once I got all these guys, I selected them all and I focus fired on these Delta Force, because what I want to do is I want to get the morale of those Delta down as fast as I can, because they're the thing that's going to hurt me right now, right? I don't care about any of this other stuff, like these riflemen. They're already panicked and they're out of the fight. I want these Delta down in morale. My guys are starting to get down in morale now, a little bit. Now, the reason I moved is because I saw the bombs coming in. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken those Motoshitsun up into that. Alright, let's take a look around here. Now, this is, he's got really good position with these tanks, but if he just, this is where a lot of people make huge mistakes against Red 4 with Blue 4, is they park heavy stuff in a forest or in a line like this, and that's when Red 4 is going to bring out the smirches and really hurt you. So he can't afford to be this passive like this. He's got to go up. He's got to attack. He has no choice. He can't sit here and sit in this position like this. It's not going to work. Morale states here. I've got one motor sheets and that's panicked now. I was able to get the delta down to shaken and worried. So most of this stuff is at much decreased threat to me right now, which is going to give me time to reinforce. So I had to call out another Tungusta early to replace that one that died. Over here we've got this igloo working up. This is kind of the way I usually cover this. I put a bunch of the better BTR transports out here and kind of it's almost exactly how I usually play that side. So yeah, my moto sheets and it's kind of getting wrecked now. But they still held pretty well versus what I ran into over there. So I'm gonna try to get these reserves into the city here at some point. I do have these Moto 90 that I can bring up. Did that? I guess my BMP3 got sniped at some point. I meant to kind of sit my BMP3 over here to take long range shots at anything that came in, but apparently it got hit in some of the earlier fighting. See, this LMG does pretty good work. I don't know if you realize this, that his delta aren't really in combat right now. Here comes the Thunderbolt again. And one of my teammates really helps out quite a bit here with the Thunderbolt. It does get both my tanks, but wow, it was 1 HP and it took that missile. So at least my 85 2A survived. I was trying to work those over here to get these Brennises out of my backyard, because at one point the Brennises were able to fire into my infantry. Like there they fired into the city a couple times too. So now that these Delta are back into a calmer state, they're a problem. But luckily their machine gun's horrible. So he hasn't fired his Smirch yet, has he? Oh, he did fire the Smirch. So let's see. Yep. Just killed the... Didn't kill, but he caused a lot of damage to that 2A4. Go ahead and go up in speed for a little while. It's got a... Doesn't really have any recon in here. It's got that, but good optics are just not very good, guys. Good optics don't do it. You gotta have at least very good. And preferably exceptional optics in most situations. Ooh, that Tunguska just took a shot. So I've got my other Tunguska in now. And right when I came out to snipe this chopper, this thunderbolt came in. It scared the shit out of me. And luckily he missed. Thank God those things only have 40% accuracy, right? So both our Tunguskas took that guy out. We won't be seeing him again, thank God. So now my reserve motor shoots when we're able to walk in. I was able to get this ZTZ to take that Brennus out over here. Anything over here really? We're still in this very static position here. I'm sure this guy feels. Let's look at it from his perspective a little bit. I believe this is Maverick, right? Yeah. This is what Maverick can see right now, and I'm sure he feels a little threatened by this position right here. Like he says, he has an attack marker right there. I think this position here is what's preventing him from feeling like he can be aggressive. And that's where, if you get too passive on this side, you know, for you to successfully handle this situation, you've got to make some form of inroad into this area right here. Try to deny this point at least. So you need to fight for this point. I don't think you need to try and push and hold necessarily, but you need to fight for this point and don't let this side of the map hold this area. That's kind of preventing him here. But to stay in this static of a position is going to be a problem later down the road, I think. So we've got Commando Marines in here now. This is where I was in a little bit of a pickle. So I called in the trump card, and one of my teammates was bringing a 24M in. And of course the F-15C comes in right then, right? Because I led with the air superiority, and that made him counter. So that F-15C is going to take my B5 down. And he's trying to run away. So everything but the Commando Marines went down. And hopefully I can rest these guys up for a little bit and get some calmer states in. Pretty sure I have supplies coming in very soon. Yep, there they are. So that's at least bought me a little time here. The fact that I was able to get some autocannons in on them was probably helpful. Oh great, that napalm. I'm just monitoring the morale state of these Commando Marines. Oh, but I've got a new Motoshiten stack in. So already those Commando Marines are worried now. Shaken. More intruder bombers coming in. think he did get a pretty nice hit in with one of those intruders. So I was able to get rid of those commando marines, and I'm going to have my supplies arrive in good time here, where I'm going to be able to hopefully get these guys back up to a better state. The fact that this stayed a 3-stack was very helpful, even though it's only 12 men. That means it can heal back up all the way up to the 30. More base riflemen coming in. Alright, so he's starting to get recon in on here. And once these things start getting lit up in those really static positions, it's going to have some major trouble, right? Holding those kind of positions. So the moment of opportunity was kind of lost for Blue 4 over here to take control of Foxtrot. Maybe not even take control of it, but at least buy more time. Alright, so the supplies came in, the Motoshitsun are getting healed up, all calm, and Gobo has lended a 3-stack of VDV, which was very nice. And this longbow is coming in now. Which it is going to actually do a little work for him. I was asking him to move the VDV into the center of the city for a little while. But honestly, I feel like maybe infantry would have been a better thing for them to put in at this point. We got cluster rounds going in back here. Not really doing anything. I didn't notice that he had left the game. I'm sorry. Part of the reason I asked him to move those VDV there was because I figured he was playing mostly over on this side. He wasn't going to pay a lot of attention, so I just wanted to get him in the center where they could fight and not take shots from outside, but still, you know, have an impact on the side. Some more intruders coming in. Got paladin shots coming in. Yeah, the intruders do okay, honestly. Sometimes they can be pretty effective. And as these units come into the city, pretty much anytime I see any type of special forces, you know, I try to focus them down as fast as I can. That was a nice bomb run. you can see all the artillery here where that static position was developed. You just, in the state of this game right now, you can't go and pick a line and just sit in mass in it. It's just not going to work. You're going to get artied to pieces. Sometimes you're just going to get artied to pieces in other ways too in this game, but anyway, you definitely can't do that. I had noticed these guys come in earlier, but then I kind of forgot about them. Ow. Of course, every time I peek my head above water, the thunderbolts just come flying in, right? I had to be really careful about using my Tunguska, because if it fires, it's going to light up, right? And then the thunderbolt's going to be able to target it. So a lot of times when you have thunderbolts coming in on your AA pieces like that, you just have to turn them off all the way and just wait till you have a chance to shoot at their rear or something. And after I see that, I put up a Shilka Buck combo. They seem to have the hardest time killing that for some reason. I don't know why. I see he's got a lot of infantry funneling in. So I think, oh, I had the PHC 70s about to fire. And I think I might ask my teammates for some infantry help over here. He's marking my Tunguska, which is a good idea. You want to get rid of Tunguskas when you see them. So the PHC 70 fired its load in here. Pretty good timing. Definitely slowed him down a little bit coming in on me with all these riflemen. And my 72As are able to get shots in on these guys. Oh no, they're getting shots over here. I don't know if they're ever actually able to obtain some solutions in here. But my supplies arrived just in the nick of time here. And I had this one little Motoshitsun squad able to hold the line for a while anyway. And this one starts healing up. Remember, when you bring supplies in, if a unit's taken damage recently, it can't resupply yet. So like these Saperzi, they're not able to resupply yet until they've gone long enough. My team did a really good job at intercepting in this game. And the Nighthawk's making a pass on the BMP-3s. So even though they had significant air up most of the game, we were able to hold our own in the air pretty well in this game. Here comes the Prowler. It's a little annoying on this. When you're playing on this side of the map, you got to be really conscious of your units coming in from this route if it's not safe. So ECR picked off one of my shulkers. My buck's in now. Got another BM-24 napalm rounds coming in. So yeah, we were able to deny them that side of the city pretty well. Looks like we got cluster coming in here. That's gonna be the end of most of that stuff. What is all this? Oh. How did he get all that information? You fly a helicopter back there that I didn't notice? I guess so. PHZ 70s. I told my team I'm going to try to attempt to push on this side. So what I'm doing is I'm using my napalm to hit this side so that if I am actually able to like cross up to this point here, I'm not going to take a lot of super effective fire from here. But right when I decided to make this push, he happens to show up with about 9 Bradley with TOW2s, so that's going to present a little bit of a problem. Isn't that amazing? Like that Bradley can take one shot at 20 AP or 18 AP to the front. That's a seed run. They didn't have anything seedable. Longbow comes in. I think I was able to get the longbow with the Tunguska. So I think I decide that's probably enough for that attack for now. These guys are probably going to die. I think I forgot about them probably. Maybe I'll stop them in the city, but I kind of doubt it. There's a VMF team here anyway. We did a pretty good job intercepting their planes at critical times. So there were 4 cluster pieces in action and 3 missed us. Looks like we've got 5 cluster pieces in action, quite a bit. But it's pretty typical in a 4v4 game these days. And you know, personally, not a big fan of cluster arty. I think the game would be a little bit more fun without it, but as is, it is part of the game, so just kind of gotta accept it at this point and do your best to pick ways to play that don't get owned by it. So I think, you know, Blue 4 had an opportunity to really push hard in middle at the start when they had those 3 heavies up there. I don't think it would have resulted in a total, you know, push through middle that just continued through the whole game. But what it would have done is it would have been able to eliminate that initial force that Red 4 had put into middle, and then allowed some time to build up and maybe apply pressure on that right side of the map, or apply more pressure to the left side of the map even. But just going up there and sitting in that static position just didn't work. And then I think the mechanized deck that I employed there paid off for me in that city, because that elite moto shoots was able to really hold against extreme numbers of infantry, especially with some good air support coming in from teammates. And it wasn't overwhelming air support. You know, they had intruders coming in, dropping the entire game pretty much, when we had 1 B5 drop, and I think the SU-24M dropped 1 time. It might have dropped another time. I don't remember though. But that's the only drops I remember. But they came at critical times, and they did a lot of work for us when they came in. That's the thing you got to remember about air support. Like, you got to pick that key moment where it's really going to make the difference for you and be decisive, and that's when you deploy it, because a lot of times you're going to lose it. You need it to pay off for you right then when it happens. I think that was critical for us. And then I think that map to some degree does favor Red 4 because of the fact that there's lots of if you get bogged down in that city and you can't move armor around that city, then you're going to get stuck in these static positions in these forests, and the cluster arty is going to come down on you, and it's going to ruin your day, right? So that was pretty key. So I think that's it for this replay commentary, and thanks for watching.